30,000 years ago, a human pressed their hand against a cold cave wall and painted. They didn't write a book, they didn't record their voice, but they left something behind. A symbol, a mark, a story. We call it cave art. For generations, we've stared at these paintings. Beautiful images of horses, bison, mammoths, and lions. They're stunning, lifelike, haunting. But there's something strange. These ancient artists rarely painted themselves. And when they did, they weren't peaceful. They were dying, bleeding, pierced with spears. Why? What was the world like back then? Was it brutal or beautiful? Today, we dive deep into the caves of Europe and beyond to uncover what prehistoric art really says about violence, survival, and the minds of the first humans. Our journey begins not in Europe, but far south, in Africa. In a cave called Blombos, near the tip of South Africa, archaeologists found something incredible. Pieces of ochre carved with crosshatch patterns, necklaces made of tiny shells, and abalone shells used as paint palettes. They're over 70,000 years old. These aren't just decorations. They're proof of abstract thought, the moment humans began to think beyond survival. And here's the twist. In Spain, even older cave symbols were found. Dots, red lines, and handprints dating back 64,000 years. They weren't made by Homo sapiens. They were made by Neanderthals. So maybe the drive to create, to communicate, and to leave messages in stone wasn't just human. Maybe it was something deeper, something shared. Most cave art shows animals, horses galloping, lions crouched in ambush, mammoths walking across walls of stone. But in some caves, humans appear, not as hunters, not as heroes, but as victims. In the cave of Pec-Merle in France, a human figure lies stretched on the ground, pierced by several spear-like shapes. The lines are crude, but the message is clear: death. In Cognac, another cave, we see two humans, one pierced with 3 spears, the other with more than 5. These are not accidents. These are messages, maybe warnings, maybe memories, maybe myths. Some archaeologists believe they were real people, killed for betrayal or punished by their tribe. Others think they were legends, stories passed down through generations, painted in blood and ochre. But violence in prehistoric cave art wasn't always about humans hurting each other. Sometimes, it was nature that struck back. In the mysterious shaft scene of Lascaux Cave, we find something unlike any other image. A massive bison, its belly torn open, intestines spilling out in gruesome detail. In front of it, a man, arms stretched wide, lying still, his head shaped like a bird. Nearby, a stick with a bird on top stands upright. A spear seems to have wounded the bison, but the hunter is the one who lies motionless. Was it a failed hunt, a tragic mistake, or something deeper, something symbolic? Some believe it's a shamanic vision. The bird-headed man isn't dead, but transformed, crossing into the spirit world, becoming something more than human. Others see it as a warning. In the wild, even the strongest can fall. This single image blurs the line between myth and memory, and it's not alone. In Cognac Cave, 2 human figures are shown in eerie detail. One pierced by 3 spears, the other with 5 or more. Their bodies are rigid, twisted, caught in the moment of death. These weren't casual sketches. They were intentional, deliberate. The artists chose to remember violence, not just glory, not just animals, but death. Sometimes caused by beasts, sometimes by each other. And maybe that tells us something, that even in the earliest human communities, there were rules, there were consequences. You didn't betray your tribe. You didn't fail the hunt. You didn't cross the line. Or you'd become a story on the wall. But these weren't only warnings. They were lessons. They were history. They were memory made permanent. Across different caves, from France to Spain to Indonesia, certain shapes repeat. Handprints, dots, grids, human figures with spears in their backs. And again, the bird. What did it mean? A spirit? A god? A symbol of death? Or freedom? We'll never fully know. But what we can say is this. These artists, 30,000 years ago, weren't just hunters. They were storytellers. They had fears, beliefs, myths, and questions about life, just like us. When they painted a dying man, or an animal mid-charge, or a hand pressed into stone, they weren't just decorating a wall. They were screaming, "I was here. I saw this. I survived. Remember me." And we do, even now. Because art this raw, this emotional, doesn't die. It lives on. In caves, in questions, and maybe in us.